Super Rugby 2026 getting underway this Friday, folks. How have the squads changed in the off-season? We'll go through some of the major ins and outs of the squads and see who is better placed to have potentially a good season in 2026. There's one team having a look at some of the transfers that I am particularly worried about, but we'll go through them. You guys let us know your thoughts. Start with my Blues. The major kind of big name acquisition they attained over the offseason was former Blues man Peter Ahki. I don't think he gets appreciated quite as much here as he did over in France because he spent so many years playing for pretty much at the moment the best team in the world at club level. Over in Toulouse, played over 100 caps for them, won multiple trophies, but he's back in his hometown club for one last throw of the dice. So fingers crossed he has a good time over here in NZ. We do have a midfield gap to fill, with Rico being away for the season over with Leinster. I wouldn't say it's going quite as well as Jordie Barrett's time at Leinster from what I've seen of it thus far, but we'll see how he goes when he returns to New Zealand, old Rico. So no Rico this year. Peter Ahki has signed. We've also got Bradley Slater up from the Chiefs, so that's a good acquisition in the forwards. We've lost Ardie Savea to the Highlanders, Adrian Choate's off in Japan, but yeah, Peter Ahki is certainly the marquee signing of all the signings the Blues have made. For the Chiefs, speaking of them, Kyron Talmoifalau, acquired from Moana Pacifica, is certainly a good bit of business for them. It kind of sucks for the Tongan national team because he did make his debut internationally with Tonga, did old Talmoifalau, but could potentially switch to New Zealand. He is a Kiwi, so if he wants to play for the Chiefs and put his hand up potentially for All Black selection, he's going the right way about it. He hasn't played for Tonga for a few years now, so his eligibility won't be too far away. But that's maybe putting the cart before the horse. He needs to have a good season in Super Rugby. Still a very young man. Just so exciting for Moana Pacifica last year. It kind of sucks for them that they lost him, but it's a great acquisition for the Chiefs. They've also managed to grab Lalakai Foketi over from the Waratahs, so with the loss of ALB over in his sabbatical to Japan, they certainly could use a guy in the midfield. They lost Sean Stevenson to Japan, so yeah, it seems like sensible replacements for guys who have gone out. Adam Ross is obviously also headed over to Australia, but yeah, Chiefs are still looking one of the stronger squads, you would say. Hurricanes, it's a little bit more stable with them. They've got Jordie Barrett back, which is a bit of good news, and Warner Dearns, the Japanese captain, he's one of the best locks in the world. Big, rangy runner, really good at getting over the advantage line for a lock. Hell of a skill set in the air. Very, very good acquisition in the second row. They've lost Zach Gallagher, so they do have a spot in the second row available. Warner Dearns, for this one season he has over here in NZ, will do really well, I'm sure. Pete Umaga-Jensen also heading over to Japan. There's a loss in the midfield, but Jordie Barrett being back from Leinster, that's going to be a welcome one for the Canes. Otherwise, they seem relatively stable. And the Crusaders aren't really, I feel like, a big kind of acquisitions club. The Crusaders tend to bring guys through their own system rather than sign a bunch of big names, but they've got Lester Fainga'anuku back. He's a former Crusaders man, so he'll be welcome back to Canterbury with open arms after a few years over in France. He's obviously been playing NPC and All Blacks rugby since that time, but it'll be good to see him back in Crusaders colours. They've got a few guys coming through from the Canterbury setup, but yeah, it's relatively stable in terms of the ins for the Cantabrians. For their outs, the biggest name is probably James O'Connor leaving, but honestly, I think Tom Christie will be missed more than anyone else. Dude was an absolute tackling machine. I know a lot of Crusaders fans would have liked to see him get higher honours, but yeah, his work rate on defence was second to none, so he'll be sorely missed. Levi Aumua never really found his straps in Crusaders colours after leaving Moana Pacifica. He's also left for Japan. For the Highlanders, the big man, Thomas Lavanini, the Argentinian. He's got a reputation for ill discipline, but he's a massive unit in the second row. We'll see how he goes. He's already been linked with other moves on after his year with the Highlanders, but we'll see how he goes for 1 year. Also, Angus Ta'avao signed him for the Blues, so a couple of forwards to bolster the pack down in the Deep South. And Sam Gilbert off to Connacht. He's already gotten off to a pretty decent start over in the URC. It's going to be sad to not see him in Super Rugby. Thomas Umaga-Jensen off to Japan. So both the Umaga-Jensen boys heading off. No, not to be seen in Super Rugby 2026. But yeah, not stupid amounts of changes for the Highlanders. So those are the 5 Kiwi teams. For the Aussies, the Reds managed to get themselves Carter Gordon back from the NRL. Didn't quite have the time in the NRL that he wanted. Spent a lot of time on the sidelines with injury, unfortunately. Aiden Ross signed from the Chiefs as well, so a couple of good additions from them, but they're missing a couple of locks in Ryan Smith and Angus Blythe, so we'll see how they go in the second row. The Reds and the Waratahs. Goodness me. You guys have made a lot of signings and lost a lot of players, so it's exciting because of all the new guys, but it's worrying in terms of cohesion. I feel like the best teams are the ones that drip feed the odd guy in rather than kind of wholesale changes. But Pete Samu's back. Oh, Pistol Pete. Angus Scott Young's back, even though he had a bit of a dust-up with one of his teammates in the preseason. Matt Phillips back from Japan. Ioane Moana, really exciting player signed from the Crusaders. Angus Blythe's in. Harry Potter's in. You got a bunch of guys signed. A bunch of forwards as well. So very, very interesting. Longy Gleeson gone to France. Taniela Tupou gone to France. Angus Bell's on sabbatical over in Ulster, so they're losing a few forwards. But if these guys can gel, maybe for the Waratahs, there's a few veterans in there. We'll see if they still got it. But yeah, too many changes I feel like can be a bit disruptive. And the Brumbies are at the opposite end. The Brumbies are kind of like the Crusaders. They like to keep things pretty stable. They've lost some big names with Lolosio off to Japan, Ikitau and Tom Hooper off in Exeter Chiefs. But they've signed Tane Edmed, who will be their 10, I guess, replacing Lolosio. So we'll see how he goes, because he got a fair bit of stick for his performances at international level, but Super Rugby is a different beast. The Force signed a few Argentinians. They got 3 of them, including Franco Molina, who's a cracking lock, really skilled in the air. Augustin Mojano as well. Both these guys playing international rugby. George Bridge. They're always good for a former All Black who's been playing overseas to come back south. George Bridge is that guy for the Force this year, and Darby Lancaster's over from the Tars. They've lost Harry Potter. Nick White's retired. Isaac Fines-Lelawasa is gone. So there's a bit of turnover for the Force. And then for the Pacific sides, it's the Moana boys that I'm worried about. But for the Drua, they've signed Timo Mayana Vanua, the big lock from Northampton. So that's good news because he's a classy player. And they've got Isaac Fines-Lelawasa from the Force, halfback. Manasa Mataele, very familiar to New Zealand rugby fans for all his years at the Crusaders. And then Vremi Vakatawa, who had the heart issues, which saw him retire from rugby initially. Then he got back into it. He's now with the Drua. So fingers crossed he's all good to go, because cardiac issues have certainly been in the news since Uini Atodio was forced to retire recently. But they've lost some big guns in Tavita Ikanaveri. Their hooker, the captain, midfielders Masi. They've lost Karawa Levu. They've lost Caleb Muntz. So some big name players missing from the Drua squad this year. And then finally, the one that, as I said, I'm most worried about is Moana Pacifica. They've lost their talisman captain, Ardie Savea, to his Japanese sabbatical. They've lost both the Anisi boys. They've lost probably their other talismanic excitement bums on seats player, Karen Tamuifulao, to the Chiefs. They've lost work rate guy in the second row, Sam Slade. They've lost Sione Havili. The list goes on. They've lost a ton of players. They've brought in Nani Laumape. They've brought in Jimmy Tupou, Augie Pulu, a couple of guys from the MLR. I'm a bit worried about Moana this year, because they had above expectations year last year. They were a real kind of dark horse team with some, big scalps. I'll be surprised based on the squad if they can do the same. But hey, maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised if they can emulate last year's success. You guys let me know your thoughts on the transfers. Who are you excited to see play? Anybody you think's a bit past it? Guys that are back in NZ or Australia in the Pacific? You guys let us know your thoughts. Take care. Subscribe to the channel. Take care. Talk to you guys again soon. See you later.